Hey everybody, this is Jimbo Jaytech coming to you from my studio here in Phoenix, Arizona with a little peek under the hood at the project for Feel Free, which is the first track of my new Anjunabeats EP that came out yesterday. This is one of 3 tracks for the EP, and then there is another Anjunabeats EP coming later in the year, which I'm just putting the finishing touches on now. So there's lots of fun Anjuna music happening at the moment, which I'm very excited about. I wrote this track. I started it much earlier this year. I actually started the original sort of musical idea for it in Ableton when I was in Canada, and then I brought it back here to the US and to my studio here and basically finished it off. So it was an Ableton song, and then I've ported it over to this software that you're seeing now. It's the PreSonus Studio One, which I'm using for my mix projects more and more lately. So I'm going to give you a quick playthrough of the song, and then I'm going to show you some of the elements that went into making it. Here we go. And this is the extended version, so from here on out, it's sort of outro beats. So yeah, I am a firm believer in the idea that, a piece of music is a reflection of the artist at that particular point, in their musical history, and it's sort of a snapshot of the artist's place in life and that point in time. And as soon as it's written down on a page, it instantly sort of, disappears into the past. But whenever you play that record, you can sort of reconnect with the feelings that you're having. And, I think this record for me is this sort of realization that, I don't really care what life throws at me anymore. I'm always going to be okay because I guess I'm like a fundamentally happy guy. I think people know that about me. And, where everyone's always talking about like challenging times, and we live in this challenging world, and, as a global community, we face all of these challenges, and, we sort of live with the weight of them every day. And there's also a reflection in sort of the musical world where it's like, artists do face this challenge of like, who am I supposed to be? Like, how am I going to make this all work? Like, which direction am I supposed to be heading in? And those are all questions that I just don't really ask anymore because, I think I've sort of, I wouldn't say I've tuned into who I am as an artist, but I've realized that like the whole artistic journey is an endless sort of process of getting more and more tuned into who you are, And so, yeah, I think people can listen to this song, and I think on some deep fundamental level, they'll know that like I'm okay, and that I think I'm always going to be. And that's pretty deep for a YouTube video. But anyway, so I'm gonna play you some of the elements that go into it. The first thing I'll say is that the vocal really has nothing to do with me because I just got it from Splice and threw it into the song. I'm trying not to make a habit of that because a lot of us artists are all getting like so many of our sounds from the same pool of samples on Splice. It is sort of one of the drawbacks of how amazing the Splice sounds service actually is that it's sort of hard to pull yourself away from that and, use things outside of Splice. For those who don't know, Splice is basically you pay like a $10 a month subscription or something like that, and you get like 100 download credits, and you can, any sample pack that comes out, it's on there. So it's sort of like this Spotify or Beatport almost for samples that you can use in your project. So I did some, effects to that so that it's, it's echoing quite a lot, and you hear that especially in the breakdown. So it's kind of amped, it's got some distortion and stuff on it, and then, it echoes and echoes ad infinitum in these little breakdown sections, and then those echoes get out of the way of the vocal whenever it hits. And I feel for the first time. So it kind of sinks back into this bed of echoing versions of itself. And that little echo is actually present at the drop as well, just sitting in the background. And played with everything else that actually, it sort of fills the last 5% of space in the soundstage. And it's one of those things where, on the first listen, you probably didn't even hear that, but now that you're listening for it, it's there. So, as producers, we sort of subtly slide these subliminal messages into the song that you aren't necessarily being expected to listen directly to, but they add to the overall essence of the song. This booby boobop is definitely one of the characteristic bass sounds of this song. And that's just some sort of bass notes that have a filter, which is changing its frequency, how opened up the filter is with every half beat. The lead sound in this, and this is something I tell producers all the time, it's very rare that I will, have one instrument driving a whole sound. I want the listener to hear one sound, but it's usually multiple layers. The reason for that is that there aren't many sounds out there that can do all the heavy lifting for one sound in a song like this. If you want things to cut through, you need a few different sounds. So here are the leads playing together. So the main lead is sort of an echoing pluck. I've also got a bit, a sort of more bright cutting sound that sort of just pops through the mix a bit more, and then a little pop string. I love these, as people know. Some nice analog chords. So there's a sort of, there's that dead mouse eighth chord feel there. That's also a sound that I feel like, in our corner of the music world, Toby Hedges did a really good job of, with some of his tracks, having those kind of chords. They carried the whole song a bit more initially, but, they've since taken a little bit of a backseat to these other analog chords, which are a little bit different. A lot of current modern Jaytech songs have an ethereal pad. I tend to send these to like really long reverbs. And they just bring a sort of lush, heavenly feel to whatever you put them in. The drop saws, this is not a super in-your-face saw section for the drop. So, this is sort of like, it's a song for the trance world, really, and, trance does have a lot of saw drops, but this song, it just has a lot of stuff going on in this drop section, so this is one sort of trancey track where the saws don't really carry the whole song too much. And then, a few little soundbite vocal samples never go astray in a song like this. That's another trick I'm always telling people to employ is have, some sound bites somewhere in the song, some little catchy little bit of audio that just sort of sticks in the listener's mind and gives a bit of an audio signature to the song. For this final outro section, I've got a little outro lead just to make things a bit different. And some Jaytech strings. And so that's about it. As I said, doing more mixed projects in Studio One lately, it can be good to actually just sort of hammer the song out in one project and then do all the mixing in another project, because it sort of splits those two processes up. Here's a quick listen to what the original Ableton demo sounded like. And then the finished version. A lot of people talk about getting buried in mixed stuff as they go along as they're writing the song. And so, I've actually found I can spend a day in Ableton just writing the actual track itself, and just get all that down and get the mix working pretty well, without any kind of processing. And then I just bring it into Studio One because it's got a bit of a different sort of feel. It's got this like traditional mixer sort of environment where I can sort of, just like very easily, I sort of feel like I'm working at an analog mixing desk or something, which is a sort of one thing that Ableton doesn't really do that well. It's a very Logic style interface, Studio One as well. So it's I've been using it for mixes for a couple of months now, and it's honestly been really great. And I think just splitting it up into two projects like that really helps. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm very excited to get this out to the world. This has been a crazy year for everyone. So if I can help bring some positive vibes with some music, then that will make me very happy. So yeah, thank you for tuning in to this little preview video of Feel Free.